During this series, there have been a few times where the Maquis were involved, but I opted not to address it and wait until now. This is because, while the Maquis have some notable actions within the arc of the Dominion War, they are largely a minor player in all of it. But today, let's break down their actions and how ultimately, the Maquis were just the useful idiots for the Dominion. The rise, fall, decay, and destruction of the Maquis is an arc that is ultimately tragic. I've done several videos regarding the quote-unquote freedom fighters, and I'll link them in the top right-hand corner as well as in the description below. But what is important here is to know that they were placed in a position where they had some reasonable grievances, and arguably were justified in resisting Cardassian and Starfleet oppression. And yes, Starfleet oppression. You can't look at what happens in the Next Generation and tell me Starfleet aren't the baddies in it. However, unfortunately, I truly believe they lost sight of why they were fighting towards the end. It stopped being about kicking the Cardassians out of their territory and became joining the Klingons in the annihilation of the Cardassian Union and its military from the Alpha Quadrant. A lot of the conversations in previous episodes regarding the Dominion War have revolved around the fact that the Cardassians had been put in a position where they had no real option but to join the Dominion. This was largely due to Klingon aggression and Federation inaction, all manipulated by the Dominion in the background. During this time, however, the Maquis would see their chance to free themselves of a weakened Cardassian state. The problem is that by this point, they wanted to hurt the Cardassians, not be free of them. We have some indication that the Maquis cells even started turning on the Cardassian civilians, which, while the civilians were happy to have the Union do their dirty work, they didn't all hurt the Maquis colonies. There would be little justification to hurt everyone that was a Cardassian. The fatal mistake was made here, to my estimation. Instead of being content with driving out the Cardassians or applying for statehood and not only declaring independence, but leaving the Cardassians to their fate, they would push into Cardassian space and begin assisting their Klingon allies in, well, genocide. The information on the Klingon-Maquis alliance is horrifically vague, but we do know that the Klingons and Maquis had an intricate agreement. The alliance was so strong that the Klingon Empire shared 30 Class 4 cloaking devices. This brings up some issues to my mind's eye, though. First, it appears that other governments are giving out cloaking devices like they are candy in the DS9 era. I get the argument that these devices may not be the best technology, but you can still take old technology and improve upon it. It makes me honestly think that it's likely cloaking technology was now something any empire with enough money or enough resolve or tech could have, but they chose not to for one reason or another. Secondly, from what we learned in the episode, you can apparently strap a cloak to a nuke and then hit a planet sectors away and it not be able to be stopped. Many will say, no duh, but why the hell wasn't the Dominion, Klingon Empire, and Romulan Star Empire all doing this in spades? Some scream mutually assured destruction, but the Romulans are egotistical enough to believe that they wouldn't get hit, the Klingons enjoy dying in combat, and the Dominion doesn't care about solids. Also, doesn't the Dominion have the ability to detect cloaking technology, so I'm not sure why this is a huge issue. The Federation could have alerted them and they might have been able to stop it. And we do know that in the end they know about it anyway, so I guess if I was being fair, maybe the Federation was unaware that the Dominion knew about this and didn't want to alert them, but still, it's kinda iffy. Looking back at the Maquis, as stated, they would be pushing forward and have the Cardassians on the run. At least until the Dominion came in and all of them would be killed. The Dominion would be able to rout the Klingons and utterly annihilate the Maquis. With the exception of the crew of Voyager, there wouldn't be anything left. Unfortunately, the more I research this, the more I find the Maquis to ultimately be misguided in the end. They may have been freedom fighters, they may have been fighting an oppressive regime, but ultimately they were empowered by the Klingon Empire that had been manipulated by the Dominion, and the Maquis went too far. From the resources that I have available, the writers were just done with the Maquis and wanted them gone. I feel like this was a misstep on their part. They should have had the Maquis attempt to form their own state. Perhaps even have a few episodes where the Maquis tried to be neutral between the Dominion and the Federation. Could have had some great arcs out of this, at least in my opinion. Whether the Maquis was the good guys or not ultimately becomes pointless because in the end, for the Dominion, they were just useful idiots.